Hello, fellow friends, travelers, and photographers. This is my third episode of my travelogues to Moscow, Russia. Welcome. For those who have not followed on my earlier episode, please do so. It covers Lake Baikal and also one town and one city nearest to Lake Baikal. And today, we are covering Moscow, being a very important place, a stopover that in Russia that most visitors will do so. And let's continue with our slide proper. Now, Moscow, the capital city of Russia, and is also the most populous city of the Europe continent, with a population that close to 20 millions in the year 2018. And it also been regarded as the coldest mega city in the world. And Moscow, along with St. Petersburg, are two of the not to be missed city in Russia that most visitors will visit. And Moscow happened to be sited next to Moskva River, and this is probably how we get the name Moscow. And this capital city offers a wealth of history, cultures, and many others uniqueness such as modernity and aginess for striking impressive landmarks and high art. And therefore Moscow have high concentrations of museums, parks, and monuments. Now this is the map. This is a map where it shows how big Russia is. And from east to west, Russia covered 11 time zones. And Moscow is right on the left. And you look at the Moscow having a time UTC plus 3, and Malaysia have the time at UTC plus 8. In other words, the time difference between Malaysia and Russia at Moscow is 5-hour difference, just for your info. Okay, now we are in Moscow, and of course the first thing most people will visit in Moscow will be no other than Red Square. Now Red Square is a very spacious cobblestone plaza. It's a landmark square and site of cathedrals. It's the heart of the Russian capital and a symbol of Russia's historical rich and captivating past. The square are surrounded by many iconic landmarks, such as GUM's department store, Krim's complex, and mausoleums, St. Basil's and Kazan cathedrals, state historical museums, and Museum of Patriotics War of 1812. Now the square not only used as a marketplace, festival ground, gathering place, but also the parade ground on Russian National Days celebrations. And it's been built during the 14th century. Now we are 21st century, so you can imagine how many years ago. Now Red Square and its surrounding building have acquired the UNESCO status, that is UNESCO World Heritage Site, in the year 1990. Now this is basically is the iconic buildings that St. Basil's Cathedrals that sited in the Red Square. And this basically the GUM Gym department store. And you can see that this historical department store is also one of the oldest department store in Moscow. And you look at the architectures, particularly the roof, is still uniquely constructed. And here this is a street next to the department store. And around the Red Square, you also found many historical buildings. And all these historical buildings had turned into museum. For example, this building is the State Historical Museum. And this is another museum, Museum of Patriotic War of 1812, the fought against Napoleon. And this is another view of this museum. And Moscow is rich on historical, a lot of history, a lot of war been fought over years, and therefore they have a lot of heroes, and you can find that many statues of those heroes have been erected. For example, this is a statue of Georgy Zhukov, an army captain, or general. I just think is a general. And then we enter to the Red Square through this passageway, and above the passageway is a Aberrant's Gate, a chapel. And this is a closer view of some of the painting that display on this chapel. And this is an overview of Kremlin's complex. It houses the government office of the Russian government office. It's the main administrative center of the whole Russia. And this entrance to Kremlin's complex, one of the entrance. Inside, this view with a very vast open compound. And these are monuments of the soldier that killed in war. The frames, the eternal frames, is burned 24 hours a day and 365 days a year, non-stop. And these are some of the architectures of the buildings that have been turned into a museum. Look at the dome, the top, the roof is so uniquely constructed. And some of the decorations at the topmost of the building. The clock towers and also the nearby towers. And this is actually another square next to the Red Square, and they call it Cathedral Square. By the name Cathedral, it means they actually house a lot of churches. And this Cathedral Church is the must-visit spot next to the Red Square, and is located on Kremlin's Hills. Adjacent to the square, I see many cannons, and these cannons is of high historical value, and most of them been used in previous war against the intruders, except one, the largest one. And the one I told the largest cannons, or those on displays, he never been fired a single shot, never been involved or deployed, used in any war at all. Now another attraction is the very huge bell. They call it Task Bell, which actually weighed about 200 tons and of size 6.6 meter in diameter and 6.14 meter in height. Then at the same time, the square also housed several Russian Orthodox churches. Now, this is actually as you walk into this cathedral square, each and every building itself is cathedrals with different names erected given different times and serve different purposes. This is just some of the closer look of the entrance of these cathedrals in Cathedral Square. The roof, the domes, and the cross above the domes, the goldish colors, perfect reflection during sunny day. Another view of another building again. This is a park. They call it Tennisky Gardens, quite a large park. And this is the cannon I mentioned, the largest and heaviest cannons in the world, but never been used at all. And these are some of the walls cannons, well lined up. A closer views. On the right, you can see the decorations, the carving on these cannons. They all have high historical value. And this is a task bell, a huge bell. And again, on the surface of the bell, you have actually engraved beautiful pictures and wordings explaining the history of this bell. Then we move nearby, we come to this cathedral of Priest of Savior. Now the main attraction of this cathedral is the entrance gate that you see on the right. This cathedral is actually erected quite some time ago and was rebuilt during the year 19,000 to 2000. That means about rebuilding over a period of about 100 years. Now the intricate craft 3D heavy grand metal door is the main attractions, and it applied to all corners of the cathedrals from 4 sides. Now this cathedral also have turned into an art center of Moscow, and at the same time is sited next to a pedestrian bridge, and this pedestrian bridge known as Petreshey Bridge. We actually span across the Moscow River, and this pedestrian bridge is a perfect spot for viewing the Kirim's complex from far. This is a closer look of the 3D carvings on these heavy grand metal doors. This is only on one of the side, and they have also have sculptures on the building at midway on all the 4 corners. This is some of it. And we also visit a park, it's called Victoria Park. This is just an overview of the park. And this park is located Paronaya Hill is also a picture squad park, and it comprises of a museum, a square, and several religious buildings. Now, this museum and park is erected as a tribute to the heroic works of Soviet people who won the Great Patriotic War, which against the Napoleons and the World War II. And there's also a monument, which is also a main attraction of this park, which comprises of obelisks, which was actually built in 1990, and of height is close to 142 meters. And also monuments of St. George slaying the dragons. And dragon has always been symbolized as enemy by the Russians. And also the statue of Nyx. And nearby, you can find an Orthodox church. And the name of this church is St. Georgy Pobyedonosny, hard to spell, sorry for that, on a lower hill, and was built in the year 1995. Fairly new Orthodox church. And these are some of the pictures taken on this St. George statue and the obelisk. You can see how tall this obelisk is, projecting into the sky. And you can also see the dragon head being cut into two. And this is another view of the park. And you can see the newly constructed, 1990 constructed Orthodox church, just right at the center of the pictures. And this is a closer look. And the entrance is well decorated above the door. And this is another view of this park, Victoria Park. And we also visit a very famous, popular all-Russian exhibition center in Moscow. And currently this so-called Russian exhibition center, it also acts as an amusement park and also as a permanent trade show avenue for Russia in Moscow. And here have actually exhibited many excellent constructed buildings exhibiting all the various architectural styles from all over Russia. And left is actually the map. It's very a huge park, and on the right it actually is one of the main buildings right at the center of the park. And to enter the park, you will greet by this entrance, beautiful, huge entrance. This is a front view. At the center far end is where the main building that you saw just now. And this view from the back. And this is actually look up from the arch of the entrance. You can see the intricate carvings on all surface of the arch, from bottom all the way to the top. And these are some of the buildings, architecture style that exhibited come from all over Russia. This is one of the buildings. This is the next. Another one. Another one. Uniquely, this park is very not only large in size, but also well decorated, well lighted up. there are many high levels floodlight. They'll turn the whole area at night into a daytimes during the festival season or during exhibitions. And this is a very unique place that we will bring to by our tour guide. A cemetery or a graveyard in Lamentum, and we were surprised why he bring us to a graveyard. And I was told that this graveyard housed the famous people all over Russia that been recognized a contributor to the building of the Russian nation. And initially started with one, it expanded now, currently have 3 such graveyard or cemetery, and house thousands of famous people who have contributed greatly. And this is just like politicians, artists, soldiers, scientists, teacher, any person, any civilian, as long as they've been recognized, have great contribution to the nation building of Russia. And because as a Chinese, we believe that taking picture of the graveyards is somehow show maybe disrespectful or not to the dead, and therefore I have actually have very little picture taken while touring this cemetery. But of course, the main attraction is the carving. You look at the statue that's placed in this cemetery. And the next visit, the famous place in Russia, Moscow, it is called Arbat Pedestrian Street. A very popular street and the oldest street in capital city of Russia, Moscow. Now this paved pedestrian bridge street is about 1 km in length, and it is actually at the historical center of Moscow. The street has existed since 15th century. That means that now is 21st century, so it's about 600 years old now. Now this place is the best place for the gathering of artists and painter, and they call it Artist and Painter Paradise. For days and night, you will find a lot of street performer, painter, and artists, either displaying their artwork for sales or doing their performance. And on both sides of the street, of course, are all shops. They're selling all kinds of commodity, catered for not only for tourists, also for the local. And you can find some famous fast food outlets, such as KFC and McDonald's here. This is just a street showing some of the shops on both sides of this pedestrian street. And you can see that during the daytime, this painter will then display the artworks on the street for sales. Taking from another corner, from another painter store. And this happened to be in one of the street cutting diagonally to this pedestrian street. You can see some of the painting on the wall. And in this pedestrian street, they also sell second-hand books. So you can find bookstore of these shots, quite a few number of it, on this pedestrian street during the daytime. And this is one of the souvenir shop. But the interesting part is not the souvenir above, but the one that the door, the Russian doors, the nesting doors, they call it nesting doors. And you can see that from the huge, the large one to the smaller one, if you make a count, they're all together 20 number. And they'll be from the smallest put into the biggest one and keep putting in. At the end of the day, all the 19 number will contain and place into the largest size one on the right. They make you take it out, you look like it's only one, but you open up, you can keep open up and you take one by one out, you have actually 20 number of it, as what displays on this picture. And the more you have, the more you can contain in this nesting door, the more expensive the price will be. I bought one that only have 4. Here, this show there are 20 numbers. And another important area that you not to miss when you visit Moscow is the underground metro station. Now, Moscow or Russia have been famous for the underground metro station by virtue of uniqueness in its design and decorations. Now, metro is actually an underground railway system in Russia, and it was actually operating in the year 1935 with initially only 13 stations. By the year 2018, the number of stations expanded to 255 stations with a total of 14 lines or 14 routes, which carry a total rail length of 381 kilometers. Now, it is currently the 5th largest railway system in the world, and the passenger count have exceeded 9 million per day, and it's still expanding. You can see how important this metro underground railway system to Russia, particularly to Moscow. And Russia Metro is been regarded as the most beautiful in the world, with not only have high historical value, but also it been used as a propaganda for the communist governments during the Soviet Union era, and which actually begin in 1917 and end in 1991. Now, interestingly, Russia owns some world deepest station, and there are 2 deepest stations, one in Moscow, the other one in St. Petersburg, and they are ranking 2nd and 3rd in the world. And to show you how deep this station is, for example, the 2nd deepest station in St. Petersburg is actually 86 meters approximately deep underground, and will be equivalent to 282 feet. And if you take an escalator, the escalator will have a length approximately 126 meters. And if the speed of the escalator is traveling at 2 seconds per meter, it will take up more than 4 minutes one way if you're just riding on the escalator. Here is a picture of the number line that's in this underground metro system, railway system in Russia, Moscow. And on the right is actually a picture taken while I'm taking the escalator down the metro stations. And you can see that I couldn't even see the end of the escalator. And this is the view of one of the underground metro stations in Moscow. Another one, this is fairly popular. This is one of the most popular metro stations to view This is another one. This is another one. We didn't manage to have time to visit all the metro stations. We managed to cover about 4 to 5 of the metro stations. And I was told that at least 20 or 30 of them are very worth visiting. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time. And then we traveled to a town not far from Moscow. And I was told this town was housed one of the religious center, education center of the whole Russia, excuse me. And it's called Trinity of St. Sergius. They also known as Trinity Lava. It's the most important Russian monastery and a spiritual center of the Russian Orthodox Church. It's also known as Russia Vatican. Now, the town where this lava is located is about 70 km northeast of Moscow only. And it's not only a prime center of religious educations, but also a renowned UNESCO World Culture and Heritage Site. Now, this center was found in 1345 and was gradually developed into a present size spanning over 400 years, and is now the greatest and largest Russian monastery and home to about 300 monks. Now, this is at the outside of the monastery. It was surrounded by a wall, but this wall itself is also part of the building, pyramidal building. And you look at these maps, and also on the right is a picture showing the entrance. And this is a closer view. And you realize actually the whole building, the whole compounds are fully surrounded and only with limited entrance point. And we walk through these tunnels, and these are the painting on the buildings above the tunnels. Now, all these paintings are describing the history of this religious place, and it tells stories. If you visit there, the tour guide will then explain to you the story that shown all this painting on the wall and on the ceiling. And inside, we found there are many religious buildings. Some of them are used as hostels for the monks or the students who are pursuing religious courses. And most of it are cathedral. This is one of the most outstanding, beautiful cathedrals. It was a sunny day, and with a blue sky, it's a perfect time for taking pictures. The golden domes are so well constructed and so clear and shining, and therefore all light that shine on are being reflected. So in these bright sunny days, he stand out This is again some of the view of the picture taken on some of these buildings, cathedrals that found in this religious educational center. And we managed to went up to the clock towers, and these are the aerial view from the clock towers down of the whole compound. And you can see that actually been surrounded by a building cum perimeter wall. The building on the right house of fountains. Every structures, every buildings in this compound are uniquely constructed. They are different from one another. You cannot see any building that are identical at all. This is a picture taken from the building that housed the fountains. And we managed to enter to one of these church, or called refectory church, and inside with beautiful decorations on the wall as well on the ceiling. Picture is allowed to take. Camera can bring in, but you cannot use flashlight, and you cannot bring along tripod. So all must be handheld. And these is 3 pictures taken at Trinity Cathedrals. Interior decoration is superb. And this is one of the interesting cathedrals that I come across in Moscow. All in all, there are 3 of them that attract me most, and this is one of them. The other one is in Irkutsk, and then the third one will be at St. Petersburg, which I will share with you in the next 2 episodes. And it's the end. Thank you for viewing. I hope you will join me for part 4. And please do subscribe and share my travel channel. And please help to promote tourism by sharing this travel channel to friends. And I thank you for your time with me, and hope to see you again in the next episode, number 4, to St. Petersburg. Thank you.